let me see. How many of you are taking notes from the beginning of the summit? Let me see your hands, 2, 3. Okay, just for your information, I'm just looking from 11. Mr. Vukotic is PhD. He's taking notes all the time. So please, one big applause for live learners. That is something we should learn, how to learn it all the time. And we are back on the second panel. The second panel, we are talking about, not about investments, but about giving back to the community. We are listening about that all the time. So no money. Unfortunately, it can be the best idea ever, but without money, why is here? No giving back to society and community, also the same thing. So our guests who will be here in a few minutes, are definitely the guys who have so many things to tell. And they have around 1 hour. Ladies and gentlemen, please greet them with a big applause. Mr. Damir Sabol, three-time founder and CEO, Inskon Internet sold to Croatian Telecom, after that Microblink B2B, artificial intelligence-enabled data structure, globally scaling company, and at the end, PhotoMath, #1 app for solving math problems, so suppose everybody knows for you. If they don't, they will meet you now. The second guest is Tomislav Car. Started at Infinium, digital product agency. About that came Productive, investment in CircuitMess, electronics and STEM education company, and created a joint venture with Porsche Digital Croatia. You will hear a lot from them, and Gregor Rebolj is with us. Founder at Klika, mobile and custom software development company, merged first for Sport Radar, then exited. How was that his story? Hey, you can sit there, or maybe our moderator will take that place. Yeah? Or is it okay for you? Okay. And Sami Ahmed is also with us today. Such a various experience here. We have today a solution engineer for Confluent. Before that, data scientist in startup New York. Did a business development for a CEED fund in Hong Kong. Product manager at another company in Portugal. Tesseract. For all of you, it's such a big intro for that. And who is moderating this after Carlo? And completely one different kind of panel. We will see what we will have now. With us is today, or I suppose you already know her, Miss Alja Gajšek. Please welcome her. She's a program director, CEED Slovenia. So I'm sure you will enjoy it next hour.
Hello, wonderful. So, I wanted to make a joke at the beginning. Sorry, do you hear me? I wanted to make a joke because there should be the power of giving back to the community and the power of giving back. So we should really give back something to you today. We kind of considered you as a community. As an audience, you're our community today. And since we have so experienced people, mentors, founders, investors, engineers, leaders, we really wanted to tap into their know-how, their experiences, and give something back to you. Thank you, Katarina. You were wonderful, with all your short intros. So we don't have to go into that. And I would really love to tap into. Can you share with us what is your primary focus today? And maybe we start with Gregor or with Damir, whoever. Gregor is at the end. What is your primary focus today? And how do you feel about the community? Why do you feel like giving back, and how you do it, and so on? Please.
Can you hear me? Microphone? This? Oh, okay, right, works. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the question was, what's important to me now, right? So what's, okay. Well, maybe I'll look from the perspective of the Silicon Garden. So that's a fund that we started 10 years ago, and the fund is actually completely backed by successful entrepreneurs from the region. And our common goal is actually that we, looking back 10, 15 years ago when we started our companies, it was much harder to start a company, and also there was no knowledge floating around. Now there's actually too much knowledge, I would say. There was no capital in the region, and nobody that you could actually, or very small amount of people that you could actually just reach out and talk to them, and they would help you with their expertise. And that's something that we want to change here in the region, right? So, looking at what we'd like to achieve is that a lot of times when I come here to Croatia, journalists are asking me, how do I compare Croatia with Slovenia, right? And I always ask back, why does that matter? Why would Croatia even compare to Slovenia? It's also not good, like two midgets comparing to each other, right? So we're nothing, right? So why wouldn't we rather, set up a much bigger goal and compare ourselves, our region to the Nordics? They actually, the Scandinavians, they figured something out, obviously, right? They're very entrepreneurial. They have lots of, high percentage of population that actually works at jobs that are bringing, much higher added value, right? So and that's something that we try to change in the following years. So with our activities, not just the fund, but also all activities that are around that. But maybe,
Thank you, Gregor. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a difficult question. I have to think like what I am actually working on and what I can say I am working on. So, I am totally consumed by things that we are working on currently, which I cannot talk about. So.
But can you maybe share just in few sentences for what you can share, because there is a different audience here.
So yeah, that's the only thing I can say. Nothing else. It's that we acquired, we signed a contract to be acquired by Google, and we are now waiting for some regulatory process decisions, which is quite painful, but this is how things. So yeah, that's. But yeah, we are. So I built, actually, this is my third company that I built. I would say built 4 until now. 3 were, actually, I had 2, 1 exit, and 1 working on exit. And 1 was also exit, but I don't count it as exit because it wasn't so successful. So I guess learned a lot and are now working on this last and biggest thing. And and people then are asking me, what is next? I still didn't finish what is now. So what is next is, I don't expect me, everybody expects me to do something next. And I expect actually that what I can do now is maybe help people to do something next, to build something. I don't see myself as, still have work to do with what I'm working on now. So I do see myself as, and this is what I try, I see myself as actually helping other people achieve what they want.
Oh, wonderful. That's what we wanted to hear, yeah. Thank you. Tomislav, would you be the next? And then Sami.
Yeah. It's probably tough when people constantly ask you, so what's next? Like you may sell your company to Google, but what is next? So I'm Tomislav Car. I'm an entrepreneur for almost 18 years now. And the question, I think, was what's my focus right now? So yeah, I started one company called Infinium, where I don't work there anymore. I'm still as a shareholder, but I'm not involved in that. Out of that, we spun off another company called Productive, which is a B2B SaaS product. And that's basically what I'm working on. So right now, I'm every day I'm working on building the company, building the product, building the customer base. And that's going really well. But like Damir said, there's a lot of stuff you need to do to actually build a company and build a successful product. And especially a lot of it revolves around the actual product. So you're kind of very deep inside of what is this thing. So what we do basically is we help companies either be more organized or more profitable, and usually those two things are kind of connected to each other. So a lot of that is setting that up and everything else that goes with it, sales, marketing, all this stuff, right? And out of over those 18 years, being here from Croatia, I met a lot of really good entrepreneurs and really good people. So we started working with them, investing. So 2 examples I would point out is Albert Gajšak from CircuitMess, which
He's coming and he's up there. I think it's he's back there. Look.
So yeah, I'm working with Albert to kind of on the growth of CircuitMess, and another one is Rentlio, which is a hotel management system, which also I'm kind of working with Marko Mišulić. So those are like kind of since the topic is giving back. I think the best way to give back is like what Damir said. Try and invest if you can. Invest either your money or your time. Sometimes you have time, sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't have any of those because you gave away all your money or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on now.
Gregor, that's like you talking about passive and active, right? Before that, when we talked about. We can. Sami, can you share more? What's your focus today, please?
Thank you. Yeah, Damir, it's awesome to hear your story about all the exits. I feel like my past has been mostly entrances, if you know what I mean. So not a whole lot of exits yet, but with the exception of this company, so the company I work for, Confluent, recently went public in the United States. And so what's next is kind of managing a mindset change for myself. I've worked at a lot of different startup companies, all of which remained private to this day. So there's a big difference between working for private companies in the United States versus public, different priorities, different things that you need to report to the street. So that's kind of a mindset change. And then also the product that we provide is very technical. It's for developers to create real-time applications. The open source project is called Kafka. A lot of people actually in the Balkans use it already, including Infobip. But they use the open source version of this product. And there's sort of an educational piece, as Monica was talking about the importance of education. Why change now? So companies ask me, open source technology works great. It's something anybody can pick up and use. But there's a lot of risks to that, a lot of things that I feel like companies need to understand the implications of that and what that leaves them open to. So a lot of my job now is educating my customer base, talking to them about the future of real-time data, and also helping them understand how to think about data in the new era. Right? Data used to be something that was fixed and queried in a database. It remained at rest. But if you want to appeal to customers today, they expect a real-time data interaction with whatever product you have. If it's your credit card, they want to know that a fraudulent transaction has occurred now. They don't want to wait until tomorrow and get an email and say, oops, you lost this amount of money, go figure it out. So there's a lot of education there to do as well.
But there's one more question, how do you feel like you're giving back to the community? And I would love if you would share that as well.
Yeah, I think, so I participated in the World Chicago program. And this was a really rewarding experience for me, having somebody from Bosnia come to the startup I used to work at in Chicago. And I found that to be a form of interacting with a community that I was completely unaware of. I never thought of Eastern European startups and what kind of issues they faced, what were their priorities versus American tech startup companies. So with that, I think it really opened my eyes to how to just listen and understand how somebody in the different side of the world might face issues with just accessing technology. Being able to procure tools from a cloud provider, for example, is second nature for a lot of people in the US. We have access to many different things very easily, and that's a privilege. So I think the giving back to the community and just understanding different cultures through programs like World Chicago is very important, and working outside of your comfort zone, working outside of your country. I worked in China for a while, worked in Portugal for a while. I think that was a good way to understand how communities have their own set of problems, have their own issues, and not everywhere is like America, obviously. So that was a big eye-opening experience.
Thank you. I agree. As a fellow, of the World Chicago and alumni, so I loved Monica's keynote actually about the learning, and I would really love to tap into that thing now. But I would love to ask a question. What was one thing that you're all three are founders. What was the one thing that you had to unlearn and was the hardest? Who's gonna start?
Yeah, I'll go first because the mic's with me. On learning, that's actually an interesting thing, you know. On learning is hard because, you know, I think it's harder when you're older, probably. Like, we're all like set in our ways when we get older. But I would say, like, one thing I had to unlearn when I was younger a bit was kind of my relationship with money. So basically, you know, we grew up here. We grew out of socialism. There's never been a lot of money here in general. And, you know, when we got into capitalism, there was the like first generation of capitalists here that basically stole the money. You know, they stole everything. And then like the next generations were more like we had to make the money, right? And, you know, I remember one of the first money I ever made, like me personally, so not the company, was I just wanted to make the money so I can buy a motorcycle. But then after a while, I've kind of like realized that, okay, you kind of make some money, you buy a motorcycle, you do whatever makes you happy, but kind of you change the relationship with it. You understand that money, like for business, is fuel. You need money. How do you balance like profit and growth? Like in the beginning, I was all, okay, profit, we need to be profitable. That's the most important thing. But sometimes you want the business to grow. You want it to grow exponentially. You can't be both, right? But then these kind of things interchange over time. So I had to kind of get basically my way of thinking around. It's just that I kind of debate in my head every decision related to money. You know, why are we doing this? Is this, you know, do we want to be profitable? Do we want to grow, et cetera, et cetera? Whereas in the beginning, I was just a kid, you know, how? Let's just make some money, and then we'll figure it out.
Cool. Where are you from?
That's not an easy question. What I had to like first unlearn, actually, first change my thinking. First that things that I think are important and good or products might not be at all important to 95% of the market. So that's one company. And then I pivoted it and it turned right, actually. So that was one thing. The other thing is that how communication is important. I was not aware how communication is important and good communication. And this is something that people ask me, where are, like, this is one example where I see in the United States, is I say, like, what is their advantage, their competitive advantage, is that they know how to communicate well. I think I can often see that. That's my experience coming from here, that it's communication and how you learn it in school or like everything. So communication is very important. Here it is not so important. In our school system, in our business, it wasn't as important, but it is crucial. And also then, like products, I don't understand how people do they need this product that I really want and my great idea. I also learned to understand that people will not understand what you meant when you communicate something. So be very careful to try to understand how people will understand you. So not assume that they will understand you. You assume, you start to say something and you assume they will understand you. No, they will not understand you. So I had to learn that they will not understand you and start actually communicating or thinking about that and then improve my communication. So that these were some things that
Really cool examples. Gregor?
Yeah, also from my side, I think it's that's a great question.
Yeah.
So I'll choose focus. So, and that's something that I needed to also relearn, right? So in Sportradar, 150% of my effort went into the company. Of course, it was stressful. So after the exit, of course, you take some time, you fix your house, family, travel and so on. But then I started sort of investing and, figuring out what I'll do next and what actually is something that actually interests me. And as an entrepreneur, I actually, looking back, I made a lot of these like active or semi-active investments where basically now looking back, it's way better if you just pick the one thing that you really like and you want to do, and the rest you try to do as passive as possible, right? So, and that's something that I think is really important. So whatever you do, try and focus as much as possible. And, you know, from the entrepreneurial perspective, sure, you can't control everything, but, you know, if you invest in real estate, you know, there's funds that do that, right? If it's, I don't know what, for example, in my case, I don't know, a startup hub in Ljubljana, which I made like a non-profit, you know, great for startups. But again, it's a non-profit thing, right? And it's a non-professional thing. At the end of the day, somebody needs to take care of it. It's just a small, tiny thing, right? So, and you figure out that basically you want to, whatever you choose that you're going to do, just take the full focus on that, because that's the only way that you're going to succeed. If you're going to do it halfway, that's not going to be, probably not going to be successful.
Wow. So we got three really interesting, right, experiences. So communication, focus, and money, right? And then, Sami, what would you add to that equation, please?
Yeah, I think something to unlearn. So I coming into tech was rough for me. I went to school for music and film scoring. I actually worked at a studio that had Skrillex and Diplo and Major Lazer. If anybody's familiar with those artists, it was a lot of fun. But it wasn't right for me. And something I had to unlearn getting out of that industry and into working in tech and coding and so forth had a lot to do with just knowing that asking people questions and asking for help is actually okay. That it doesn't have to be a quid pro quo kind of thing, which is like you do something and somebody has to do something back for you. It's not, life doesn't always work that way. And I think if you're giving somebody your attention, if you're really listening to somebody when you ask them for a coffee or you ask them for a moment of their time to understand what it's like to work in their industry, if you ask them questions and you're really curious and genuine, they'll appreciate that. And that's something I had to unlearn. I think I had a lot of imposter syndrome, which is something we say in America a lot about, like, you don't belong here, you're an imposter, this is not for you. And as a musician, that's how I felt. You know, these engineers, they're very smart people. I don't know math, I never took calculus. You know, that's way over my head. But I found my own way in technology just by abandoning imposter syndrome, abandoning this feeling that I had to provide somebody value immediately in a meeting, and just practice active listening, just practice being present with people, and they'll appreciate that.
So now I'm going to ask you something. So would anyone add anything else, you know, to this equation? What did you have to unlearn, you know, as founders, as entrepreneurs? And I'll wait a little bit. I'm used to. Somebody.
What did you have to unlearn?
To not have the answer to all the questions. You have?
So, a few of us were talking over lunch about the whole fact that we had to unlearn that we're going to get it right the first time. You have to fail. As an entrepreneur, as a professional, whatever you do, failure is okay. But how do you get up from that? And I think that's so important. It's easy to forget that. And you have to remind yourself that I can learn from this and I can be better because of this failure.
You guys are real inspiration, so I will just chime in on it. I think politics doesn't matter. So I felt before that, you know, there is some setup that we are in this environment and we can actually online, and we are looking for that someone will come and create environment for us, but I don't think that anymore. I think everything with us, so you just, you know, rely on your network, on yourself, and do whatever you do. So, and don't think about politics. And if they do something that doesn't right, you go out on the street, you know, don't let them do that.
Wonderful. So see, this is how community works, you know? We're all adding to the equation, you know? We're all similar, we're all founders, you know, we're all leaders. We're all facing different challenges, and why not tap into the others, right? Would you guys add anything to the equation? I figured there was some... No? Okay. Then, Thank you. So now we're gonna do something different, and if you followed Carlos' panel, you're gonna see what. So I'm gonna invite now Ante Medić, who's gonna join us on stage, and he's gonna share his startup journey in a short talk. Please.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Ante Medić. I'm a local here from Croatia, also alumni of World Chicago. So thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, all the team that made this happen. So they wanted me to talk a little bit about startup ecosystem and how we do stuff here. I personally have a hardware development agency for 6 years now. I cannot believe it's been that much already. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I do sometimes feel a little bit like an immigrant because I moved into this city when I was 25, opened my company back then, and I really didn't know anybody and didn't have nothing. So me and my partner, we started with this kind of office. Even I was working back then. She actually admitted us in Zicer. And yeah, we just had 2 monitors, one old PC and one laptop, and that's all we had when we started. And yeah, I wanted to share how it is when you start basically from scratch, you work your way up and where it can lead. And you know, what it means to show up every day and basically be committed to work. So yeah, we collected our experience through various projects. We worked in various industries from, you know, basic gadgets, commercial electronics, from, you know, to IoT sensorics, pretty much everything that had some product to be developed or some electronics to be developed. And we helped a lot of other startups in that way, and we did some of our own products. And yeah, so past 5 years, it was mostly like that, building a lot of products, taking up experience, and showing up every day for work. So how it's going now? After 5 years, we are now a team of 10. We moved to new offices. You know, it's pretty fancy compared to what we had 5 years ago when we started. But you know, it's pretty much an example of what can be done if you really commit and you strive for work and you do it every day. After some time, every little bit over the course of the days can amount to something better and bigger. So after some time, I figured that all of that agency work is a bit boring, let's say it like that, and I wanted to make something more meaningful. So we tried to take every year some project that we would try to help bring up from initial idea concept to a company, full-fledged company. And some of them were successful, some of them not. It's like that in business. Most of the stuff actually failed. But eventually what we figured that we were going to try to do is that we're going to be like kind of a venture building stuff. Now it's that buzzword is popular, but yeah, we've been doing that for the past 3 years. And what I can share that actually became one of the success stories is Sport React. And I'm going to show you a little bit how that went. So Sport React started 3 years ago, and we started doing hardware development for that. Eventually, we also got an investment. We completely did R&D for the project. And basically, the product is a premium agility training system for sports people. And now we are already selling, you know, first 100 sets. We incorporated US company and received investment over there. Over the investment angel group I'm also part of. And yeah, that's my part of giving back to the community. Eventually, when we get some money extra, we invest in some other companies, we invest some time, and we try to push them as much as we can to achieve success. And we're going to show you because it's very difficult to understand what the company does, but it's basically, oh, will it start? No? Yeah. It's a video. Well, it's supposed to be a video. With a nice lady also. It abandoned me. No. But basically it's... sorry for that. It won't budge. So it's a bunch of reaction lights sports people can use to measure their reaction time in any sport. You can use them as timing gates or reaction lights, and you can combine all of them in a like comprehensive system that it can be used pretty much in any sport for sports people to be trained. Yeah, sorry for the video. So yeah, that's it from me. They told me to be short, so I'm short.
Ante, but since we're giving back, you mentioned that you're giving back actually for this, but also, you know, if we're a community, you know, who do you tap, you know, who do you go to? Who's your go-to person? Guy, girl, I don't know, a peer group, you know, when you have hard decisions in front of you. Can you share?
Well, actually, you know, it's always important to listen to people who've been through this kind of stuff. And the most important thing in business, I realized, everything takes time. I mean, you have to take things pretty slow and easy, and then, you know, be patient, and stuff comes along the way. So my peers from SCOC 123 Angel Investor Group, they're mostly like all, you know, people who either sold their companies or are very successful. So mostly I'm listening to them. When we have meetings, I'm the person who's mostly not talking, listening a lot, and I learn a lot. It's hearing from people who did it a lot in different industries, different aspects. Yeah, it's been really helpful in that way. So yeah, mostly mentors, people from my group. Yeah.
Thank you. And of course, this is a really important question. So, Sami, who do you go to? You know, when you have a problem, tough decision in front of you, you know, something that you don't have an answer to.
So I formed a peer group with a company that I used to work at in Chicago. It remains private to this day, which is a little bit unfortunate. So a lot of us were pretty devastated when we were working there, and we thought that the trajectory was up and to the right to be successful. So when we all kind of decided to leave that company, we formed a Slack community where all of us can just get in there and ask questions. We have a job board kind of section, so as people landed more jobs, they would actually just go in there and say, hey, I'm working at this place now. If you need a referral, you know, let us know and we can help you out. So I think the place that I go is usually that Slack group, because we have the shared kind of bad thing that happened to us that kind of binds us together. And I think you could kind of find that community. Probably everyone has something that, you know, was a little bit unexpected in their professional career of some kind. And I think it's important to identify those people and not just leave them out hanging, because there's other people that are in that unfortunate position out there, and then you can kind of, you know, strengthen numbers through that experience. So that's where I find strength.
Thank you. So are there any questions? I forgot to ask, you know, because we have some. Any questions up until now? No? Everyone sleepy? After lunch? Okay, then let's wait. Okay, guys. So yeah, who are your go-to persons? You know, people, peer groups, individual, like mentors, investors, friends. You know, when you have a tough decision in front of you.
So yeah, I think the answer is going to be quite similar. So even if somebody approaches me and asks me for an advice, sure, I give them advice, but I tell them, you know, this is just my opinion, right? So you should talk to this and this and this person because they also have relevant experience. And then, you know, when you get all the feedback, you should then make up your mind and make the decision. So, and I think that's sort of the best way. That's how I use it. You know, that's my decision-making process. On the other side, so again, Slack is obviously like a go-to tool for these type of communities. So more than 15 years ago, we started a community like that in Slovenia. It was called Silicon Gardens. We started with, I don't know how many of you know Kiberpipa, so that's probably... Oh, you were there. Okay, excellent. Yeah. So a couple of older guys remembering old times. But that's where, you know, things started. You know, we figured that, you know, high-tech companies are not really competing on the local market for local shares, right? So we are all on the global market, and we can just, you know, help each other with connections, with knowledge, with network. And from there actually, the funds came out, and on the other side also the community is now way bigger. So now we have 800 startup founders and growing fast. And now we're in the middle of this process where we're tagging everybody that's in the Slack with like these micro things, like did you manage more than 70 people? Did you raise, I don't know, X amount of money? Did you exit? Are you doing user acquisition for a mobile subscription app, for example, right? So these are very niche things, and there's groups of people that are actually experts on those, right? And whenever somebody comes to me, I just point them, okay, you should go there and talk to these people, and just don't be afraid, just ask questions. Or everybody is, just a normal person, and it really, shouldn't be. You shouldn't have that fear of, not asking or not approaching people. Just on the other side, be of course mindful of, their time, and try to really think about what you're gonna ask, right? So it's not like I'm just thinking about something and you want to grab coffee, right? So unfortunately, not a lot of people have time for that. So that's one thing. The other thing that we try to sort of communicate is what we say is like paying forward, kind of a mechanism. So when we help somebody, and we don't expect anything back, right? So we just help them with our connections, with whatever they need. But I do expect them to actually, when somebody approaches them, that they do the same thing for somebody else, right? And that's something that I think can actually bring the whole community, can make the whole community much, much stronger.
Can I add to that? You're talking about, we used to, when all these communities started, there were like founders and startup founders in the beginning, and then there were mentors, and there was this kind of divide, right? And what you're probably saying, right, is that we're all part of the communities, and we can all help each other out, right? And these kind of roles sometimes not necessarily are important or significant, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We can only gain as a community.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is interesting what you said. If talking about like who do you turn to, they usually say that you should like whatever you're trying to do, find somebody that's already done it, like but only 10 times bigger or something, and then kind of try to get that person on board, which is usually hard. But if you can't do it, I think that's a good approach. Like me personally, I'm kind of maybe missing that type of person right now in my life, but then I kind of, whenever I'm interested in something really hard, then I just obsess about it and try to learn everything about it, whatever it is. What you said, user acquisition for something, I would obsess for a while until I learn everything about it, and then I move on to the next thing, I guess. And in terms of like general things, I try to like contextualize. So I think you touched upon this. Like if I have a problem that's related to whatever taxes or something, then I ask this person. If I have a problem with, I don't know, selling my company to Google, I would probably call Damir. Maybe, I don't know. The point is, you don't like contact everybody for every topic. You try to figure out who's like really an expert on it. And I really have to stress the point that you added. Like if you're trying to contact busy people, don't beat around the bush. Like busy people are busy and they don't want like, hey, can we get coffee so we can talk about? Just do what they call the ask. Just ask what you need. Like I need money. I need advice on this thing. I need whatever. Just tell me what you need. It's easier for everybody. But people, I don't know, people have this like tendency to kind of beat around the bush and try to do a dating thing or something. I don't know. Like, it's not that people don't want to help. It's just that you really don't have time. So it's kind of just easier to cut through especially busy people. I think appreciate it. They don't want the whole song and dance. That at least I'm like that. So yeah.
Cool, because you're tapping into what Damir actually said, right? Clear communication, right? Just ask and.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And then don't be disappointed when you get, sorry, can't help it. I like sometimes, I don't just, one thing that I actually now know what people need to unlearn is you need to unlearn that your idea is something that you need to keep for yourself, or ask somebody to be hesitant to show it to someone, to ask for NDA, to sign NDA to hear about your idea. This will not work.
That's still a thing?
It is, like some people think it is a thing, but it's not. It's not, because it's much more valuable to share your idea, to get feedback on your idea, to get advice, than to keep your idea in your little world and think it's the best idea in the world and then be really, really disappointed when it goes out in the market. So this is one thing that I would say entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, like just share your ideas. You will get much more out of sharing, asking for advice than keeping your idea big secret.
Wonderful. So they say assumption is the mother of all, and I'm not going to continue, okay? But we know what we're talking about.
Adding to that, so
Please.
you could look at the ideas. At the end of the day, when you talk to certain people, it's not going to be that same idea, most probably. It's going to be a little bit different, right? Like an unpolished diamond, you start with that, and then you start talking to people, and it becomes like a beautiful thing, right? It's not, if you're going to just keep it to yourself, most probably it's not going to be very successful. Yeah. So it will only improve.
Would you add to that?
Yeah, I think just quickly that the premise of for open source technology, so the stuff that we initially developed at our company, was for anyone to be able to contribute to it. So open source means it's open to the world. You don't need a particular software license or anything to use it, and you can actually criticize. You can write in the repo. Sorry, I don't know why I'm exploding here. Right in the repository of code, you can let these projects know, hey, I don't like the way this feature works. Why does it work this way? And I think there's a lot of power in just putting it out there, as the panelists are saying, and letting other people criticize and give their feedback.
So we should be, actually, do we need mics? Yeah. Oh, we do, okay. Yeah, because of the videos and so on, right, yeah. Okay, so let's invite the second person. Anthony, are you gonna come on stage and share about NFTEs?
Thank you. So I'm gonna walk a little bit because I can't stand just there. So, hello everybody, happy Friday. Do me a favor, stand up if you've had a teacher, coach, advisor, or someone who's ever helped you, whether it be in elementary school or as an adult. Stand up. So, perfect. So that's a lot, and you need a little break, right? We need to stand, it's been lunch, we need to move a little bit. So all of us have had someone, go ahead and sit down, thank you. All of us have had someone in our lives that have influenced in some way, right? That's what it means to give back to the community. My name is Anthony Curtis. I'm the Senior Manager of Volunteer Programs and Organizational Culture at NFTE, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. But just say NFTE. And what that means is what I do is I organize volunteers from across the globe to interact with young people, because at NFTE we are trying to activate the entrepreneurial mindset in young people all over the globe. A little bit about my background. I'm a former teacher, so I love to make you stand up. I taught high school English in America for 10 years, and I loved it. I'm also a leadership coach, so I help nonprofit leaders become better leaders and think about how they can avoid things like imposter syndrome that Sami was kind of talking about earlier. I also talk about equity, diversity, inclusion, and I coach people in organizations and teachers. I lead workshops so they can make sure everyone has the opportunity to learn. And I've been in the education field for 20 years. And then my favorite thing, my little nieces down here. They are my world, and I love them so much. And they inspire me to make this world better for their future. Oh, and let me get the clicker there, yes. So I'm going to talk to you today about why you should always continue to give back. But first, let me talk a little about NFTE. So like I said, NFTE, we try to ignite the entrepreneurial mindset with unique learning experiences that empower all of our students to truly own their futures. We work with students who are ages 11 to 24, so they can be in elementary, middle school, high school, and we're in a lot of countries. 19, we are not in Croatia yet, so that is my next step, to get us here to work with a lot of schools. And we work in a lot of under-resourced schools, so schools they don't have as much as some private schools, but we also work with private schools as well. And we believe in training the teachers so they can truly be empowered in their classroom to make a difference. So I'm going to talk to you today about how in the midst of this work, how you can ignite the entrepreneurial mindset and how you can do that as a volunteer with any kind of way, not just with NFTE, but in your everyday life. So we at NFTE believe in these skills. Raise your hand if you are good at communication and collaboration. Stand up if you are creative or innovative. Stand up if you're a creative or innovator. That should be everybody in this room. There's a lot of people who are innovative. Go ahead and sit down. Okay? You have great, thank you. This is the last slide. Yeah. It's like this, stand up, comfort with risk. But all of these things, these are skill sets, right? That we really think about how can we empower young people and adults to truly have these skills, like being comfortable with risk. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an entrepreneur or a business professional, these are skill sets that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And the one thing I love about NFTE is our impact and outcomes. So again, as I said, it's not just about starting a business, but helping them be successful in their career. And I love it because 96% of our students in NFTE are on track to graduate from high school, whether it's be in America or their country, opposed to 80% of other students. And this is my favorite. 1 in 4 of our students has a business. I'm going to talk about 2 of those great students, but how they now as adults talk about the mentors in their lives who help them become who they are today. And we're really big on empowering women. Men, love you, I'm a man, I'm a brother myself, but we got to empower the women too because they are just as great, right? That's what it means. That's what it means to truly have an equitable world, right? Like there's so many great women in this room who are doing great things and beyond this room. So let me talk about, at NFTE, this is what we talk about in terms of volunteers and volunteers and giving back. We have people, volunteers, guest speakers. I'm going to be coming to some of you and say, hey, I would love for you to virtually talk to my students. You don't have to fly in, but if you're in Chicago, we can make it work. George, I'm already coming to you. You've been saying some good things, and a lot of you are as well. But virtually guest speaking, right? Maybe you can be a guest speaker somewhere with young people. And I want to challenge you here. Someone may say, well, I didn't start my company yet, and I don't have $1 million yet. It doesn't matter, right? It's about where you are on your journey. Students want to hear from real people about hardships and even just what you're doing in your life. They learn from you, just like you learn from somebody else along your journey. We have people volunteer to be a coach or an advisor. Our students work on business pitches. These are 13-year-olds who play in a 7-minute pitch, and they present it, and then we say, hey, this is great. We're going to give you $5,000, and it's an awesome thing, right? We do field trips, so we let students explore different companies and learn about what they're doing, anything from PayPal or EY or small businesses too, right? And then I love it because, and I'm going to tap on some people in this room to find me on LinkedIn. I look for judges. People that actually listen to those students, give them feedback, and then help us decide which students are going to win and advance in our competition. At NFTE, I love it because we believe we can't do this work alone. It's not about just the teacher. It's just not about NFTE staff. We've had 1,805 volunteers across the globe volunteer with our students. And they've given 6,000, over almost 7,000 hours their time. You talked about it earlier. It's not just about time and money, but time can also be an investment in young people and truly change them. And I love it because just 2 weeks ago, Damon John volunteered with our students from Shark Tank. Raise your hand if you've seen Shark Tank. Yeah, he wasn't mean like Mark Cuban and some of those other sharks, but he took some time and he met with our young people, and he said he just gave them tips, right? You don't have to be a celebrity to volunteer. You can be a local person, everyday person, because people need to hear from them too. So let me talk about some of our alum. This guy, Darius, I love him, he's awesome. About a month ago, I got to fly to DC and actually visit his business. He started NFTE when he was 15 years old. The business he started then, he's not doing that now. But what happened, he kept that innovation, those skill sets, the people he met, and when he was like, kind of like Sammy, he was doing music, and he realized, I don't like this, but he was also trying to get his hair cut. And he said, I can't find, he's a black guy like me, right? I'm black. And he said, I can't find a barber shop anywhere. So he actually said, and I'm on all these hotels all around the world. So what he did is he said, let me learn how to cut hair. And then he started to partner with hotels and actually create an experience. So like a hotel like this, it would be a place where it's a salon. So that anyone, no matter what race you are, you can get your hair cut. He calls it groom guy. So it's for men. And actually he has a hotel, he partnered with a hotel in DC, and he just opened last week in West Palm Beach. And he actually has a sponsorship from the PGA Golf Tour. And they are paying for everything, all his space, his people, everyone there. And you know how he got that partnership? One of his mentors at NFTE introduced him to someone else. From 15 years ago. Now he's 32 and has his business. Oh, this is my brother right here, Jose. This kid right here is 19 years old. And 3 years ago, he won our national competition. So all these thousands of kids. He was a winner and won $10,000 for his business. And what inspired him during COVID, his brother has autism. And his brother, during COVID, couldn't pay attention at home on remote learning, right? And he said, how can I help my brother pay attention? His parents, remember those little fidgeters and those little fidget things that people play with? But his brother kept losing them. So he created this attachment so that his brother could attach the little button and the fidget, and he would never lose it. This happened because of that idea, but what happened is he has mentors who constantly work with him throughout, and then next thing you know, they connected him with, I don't know if people know Inside Edition, that comes on here in Croatia. It's a big kind of entertainment show. Somebody connected him to the host of that. He was on national television in America talking about his business and then getting more investment because a mentor, an advisor, helped him. But here's the greatest thing about them. Both of them, I could text them right now and say, hey, I need you next week to talk to Nippy students or come to this high school, and they'll do that. No matter where they are, whether they're 19, they just started that business, or 32, they still believe in giving back. So I want to encourage all of you to really think about how you can give back in your own way. Everyone here has an expertise. You got to share with other people. Last thing I'm going to have you do. I love giving assignments because I'm a teacher. Go ahead and put your phone in the air for me. Put your phone in the air. And if you have a light function, like flashlight, go ahead and turn that on. There's mine there. Okay, hold those up. Ooh, I love it. I feel like I'm Beyonce, Jay-Z at a concert. Yeah. This light, this is what you all have to give back to other people. This is how we make change in the world. Each of you are a light to someone else. Remember, someone else is a light to you one day. So never let this go out. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Anthony. Oh, wow. Now I forgot the questions. No, I didn't. So, okay, you tapped into that, right? How we can give back, right? So, the guys on the panel, how do you believe, what can we do, helping growing kids who are interested, but not just in tech, in entrepreneurship? What would you say to them? To a kid? Maybe it's your kid, it's your nephew, or, I don't know, a neighbor, whoever you meet. The way.
Yeah, so I really like this. So in Slovenia, we also have a similar thing, and I loved actually being a mentor there. There's also a couple of other things that, so maybe like a fundraiser for them as well. So probably in Croatia, you also have the first Lego League, which is, they start at 6 or 7 even. And it's not even about programming, right, and robots. So there is, of course, there's robots, there's programming, but the main point that they teach is, teamwork, communication, presentation, and so on. So, and every year they have like a new topic, which is like transportation or energy and so on. So I really love that program. It's not so expensive to actually sponsor your own school. So I suggest that. And then another one maybe that I can highlight is the Jure Leskovec, who's the professor at Stanford. He actually figured out that, of course, to get into really top schools in US.
But maybe Jure Leskovec is also, he was a founder and exit. Maybe you should tell that.
Sure, yeah. So he's.
We have a international community.
He started a company, sold it to Pinterest. He started another company. So, but he's a professor at Stanford, one of the youngest. And basically, I mean, what he's doing is that he figured out that this is really a problem, that, to get into top schools, you need like the right CVs, basically, right? And what he figured is that, he collects regional professors and then basically connects the students, the young people that want to go for like an internship for 2 months into the US to that local professor. And that actually looks, first it's great experience, and second, it's also the, it looks great on the CV if you worked at a Stanford lab, something, right? So, and that's like a good hack, to really connect our ecosystem. So again, if we connect ourselves with Sweden, right? So they don't have low taxes, right? So that's not the right reason why they're successful. They're really successful because they're so well connected, international. They really start thinking international the minute, they go out to schools internationally and so on. So And I think these are, some of the things that we can all do passively, meaning just invest money, just give them some money, and talk about them so that maybe more people are gonna give more money to them, right?
And there are I'm sure there are Department of State programs who also foster, I know of some of my friends who are actually in the room, went to high school in US, and I'm not sure if my friend is still here, wants to share, but doesn't matter. These are the programs, right, that we can tap into as well as high schoolers and later on as well with fellowship programs, right? So, sorry, Tomislav.
Yeah, so I really like what you're doing. This really seems awesome. I don't like you making me stand up, but I like all the other stuff, so that's fine. I think it's great, you get the kids out there, you show them, I'm guessing you kind of show them good role models. So I think, one of the things is we that are like entrepreneurs, we need to be good role models to kids. So example here, and this is I guess this is like a local thing. So I have a nice car, a loud car, and whenever I stop somewhere at a parking lot, your kids would be, and they're like, oh yeah, how do I get that car? Something like that. And they're like, I tell them, study, work hard, and they always laugh. They're like, nice gag. So I did it once, and now I do it every time just to see, and the reaction is always the same. They don't believe it. Because they think the only way you can get success is if you're like a soccer player or like a celebrity or criminal or whatever.
YouTuber.
What?
YouTuber.
Maybe, yeah. Like if I said I was a YouTuber, they would believe it. I just say, study hard, go to school, start a business or whatever I tell them, they're like, ha ha ha. So what I'm trying to basically say is I think, our job to give back is to be really good role models in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess being good role model is very important. I remember when it was 25 plus years ago when I was presenting to my colleagues, students, and I told them I will build a company. And they were, yeah. It was 90s in Croatia, of course, it's war. It was war time, and you nobody actually thought that owning a company is a thing for students. You can find a job, but not build a company. So that's we also need to change this thinking and that your mother and father will tell you find a good job. No, build a good company or be a YouTuber, successful YouTuber. Yes, why not? And I think we can influence this, and of course still football players will be more popular, but we will do our small part in that sport.
If I'm correct, you have 3 kids, right? That's true? Okay, so what would you say to your kid if he wanted to be an entrepreneur? One thing. What would be the advice? You build so many companies.
No, obviously they see what I'm working on, and they are really proud, and I think that's all I have to do there. So
Okay.
I think I've done it, but I'm just letting them do whatever they want in life, and
of course
telling them anything, but they are great, and they're all different. They have different interests. They see the world in a different light, but I can see big creativity, big potential, and I'm not worried at all.
Wonderful, thank you. Sami?
Yeah, before I answer the question quickly, every time our host asks you all to answer a question, if you answer the question, you can get a free hat or notebook, just to encourage you over here from our company. So just take her up on it, because she has good questions. So yeah, I think for young people in the United States, we have this advice that is dangerous, in my opinion. And we say, follow your passion. And I think this is probably maybe universal to Europeans as well. I think kids are blank slates. And a lot of the times when you tell them that, at least when I remember hearing this in high school, in this period of time where you're unsure about what your life is going to be, you don't know how to answer that question, because you're like, I don't know, I guess I want to go to the moon. You'll say something probably outlandish because you haven't had experiences yet. And so I think we need to change the narrative that we tell our kids. Instead of just asking them, oh, what's your passion? What do you feel, on the inside? Expose them to a lot of things, I think, is the trick, right? Like my family, for example, forced me to play piano an hour a day, and I hated them for it. But I also valued it because then it allowed me to see, okay, this is what this world's really about. And this is how to stick with this world when it gets tough, which is something entrepreneurs have to do all the time. You're always doing something and you hit some adversity and you have to figure out how to go through with it. So I think we need our young people to experience a lot of things and experience them for a long period of time, even when they're complaining to you, oh, this is hard, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go to tennis practice, I want to go to piano practice. I think you make them do it and they'll be better for it, and then they'll make that decision much more easily in the future.
And it's 10,000 hours, yeah. You get to them quickly, right? So we're still staying with the learning, right? And I would love to invite to the stage Albert Gajšak, who's gonna share more about STEM learning and education. Please join us on stage.
Thank you so much. By the way, this has been one of the longest panels I have ever been in my whole life. And I must say one thing, this so reminds me of like a Croatian version of Shark Tank. So just an idea for next time. Use these guys. No, it's good. It's good. Like we don't have Shark Tank. By the way, I've sent like a presentation to you people. Oh, awesome. By the way, I sent this like 5 minutes before this panel, so I do apologize to all the organizers. This is how I usually roll. I know. Come here. You can hold this, and you'll be showing it, okay? So, hi to all of you. My name is Albert, and I'm a 24-year-old entrepreneur from Croatia. I'm currently trying to make a business succeed. The name is CircuitMess. The name comes from two words. The word circuit because we do electronic circuits, and the word mess because the company is in a huge mess, as you can see. This is one of my angel investors here. So I'm contractually, thank you. I'm contractually obligated to basically agree with everything that he says. So everything that you said was really good, you two guys. So what we're doing, we're actually trying to fix STEM education by creating these educational experiences for kids. We do it as a form of these little boxes, as you can see here. Thank you so much. The whole point of these products is that you assemble them and learn about electronics, and I have founded this when I was 18. We have managed to bootstrap the business up to $2.3 million of revenue, and I'm just going to very shortly show you, how the business actually works. The main problem that we're solving is the fact that kids just spend so much time in front of screens nowadays. Am I right? All of you that like screens stand up. Just kidding. But the thing is, despite everyone just being so immersed into technology, kids just don't like STEM education. If you take a look at the charts, every single year there's less and less interest in STEM education. And the governments all around the world are just pouring so much money into education. But my theory is that it's just not enough to buy a bunch of 3D printers and to just throw them to schools. You have to create something that's going to be meaningful and that's going to be in touch with the current generations. This is basically why I started this business. I was so bored at school when I was 11 years old, so I started doing electronics, because here in Croatia they only gave us textbooks and we had to memorize things by heart, and we couldn't do anything practical with our own hands. So I started doing electronics, and at one point I figured out that actually I'm not the only one feeling that way, and that this isn't just a problem related to Croatia. It's actually that a lot of people all around the world were thinking the same. That's why I started CircuitMess, and what we're creating is actually a subscription for kids where you subscribe and you get a new product every single month. Each one of these products is based around a certain certain topic, as you can see here, and it teaches you about the new thing. We imagine these boxes as like chapters. So basically we have created a total of 12 different products. As you can see of this high resolution screen, each one of these products teach you about a different thing. You have like a phone that teaches you about network communication and GSM. You have a car that teaches you about autonomous driving. You also have a DJ mix table that teaches you about music, and each one of these is like a certain topic, you know. The one of our latest products, by the way, is this one. This was made as a collaboration between us and Warner Brothers. So this was like a reskinned product called CircuitMess Batmobile, where we took an existing one and just like put a bunch of new functionalities and also tried to bring education to the kids in a form of like this super cool superhero-related car. Anyways, we have been doing this for quite some time. We've sold a lot of these products. You know, this is a bit outdated, so we've reached $2.3 million of revenue. But the thing that I like the most is that we actually generate most of our revenue from customers outside Croatia, mostly from these 5 countries: the United States, the UK, Germany, Canada, and Australia. You know. We're actually working on this new thing right now. So basically we've started as a hardware business, but then we've slowly pivoted into a way of doing hardware subscriptions. And now we're also trying to build this new software product that's going to help us reach more kids, younger kids, and it's also going to make the business less capital intensive. Anyways, not to bore you with lots of these like venture capital facts, the point is that we're trying to sell this mostly to the customers in the United States and the European Union. And since the whole point of the panel is actually like mentorship and stuff like that, I just wanted to share this small story of how I actually met my mentor that I'm contractually obligated to agree with, Tomislav. So actually, the fun thing is that like what these guys were saying is that basically when they were starting out, you know, there was lots of struggle in their lives, you know, and I felt really, I would say, fortunate that like when I was starting out with my business, I actually had lots of people to ask and to see, you know, what they have been struggling with, so that I don't have to go through all of those challenges. I actually met my first angel investor, Tomislav, because I was going to these robotics competitions ever since I was like 11, and then when I was 14, I actually won this competition, and I got to go to this European level competition in Portugal. But my parents didn't have the money, so I was sending emails to all of the IT companies in Croatia to actually sponsor me and to pay for this plane ticket. His company is the only one that actually responded. I'm sorry, Damir. But anyways, they bought it. They bought it. So what's actually fun is that like they actually invited me and my colleague that was building these robots with me to their office, you know, and when I was 14, this was basically, you know, some kind of a formative experience for me, where I got to come to this office, lots of like people sitting on these like Pilates balls and stuff like that, coding on MacBooks, you know, I didn't see that before. And anyways, you know, basically he became one of my role models. And what's actually interesting is that a couple of years later, he became one of my first angel investors and one of the most impactful people in, you know, this whole development, you know, of this whole venture. By the way, besides him, I also have like 25 other employees and colleagues in the company that have been with me for quite some time, you know, and this is what we're working on right now. Anyways, I don't want to take any more time since this panel is probably like 1.5 hours long. So I'll just wrap it up here, you know. So yeah, I suppose we have some like questions, stuff like that. Thanks for holding it, by the way. Yeah.
So Tomislav, we have to ask for a comment. On your thriving relationship, please.
So yeah, I would say we're like, what, halfway for the panel? Another hour and a half? Yeah, so yeah, Albert, basically terrible. One of the biggest mistakes of my life. No, I'm kidding. This has been like a great experience for me also. At the beginning, we had zero ideas of where this is gonna go. I was just like, he had, you know, these ideas, but there was basically no business behind them. It was like, I just want to, you know, build this stuff. And over the last, what's it been, 4 or 5 years? Something like that?
6.
Fuck. Anyway, it kind of got from zero to what you just heard. And I'm, you know, extremely proud. I've learned a lot from the whole thing. He's learned more, obviously, but I've also learned things. And yeah, I think it's a great thing we're doing. Yeah.
Don't go into the back, okay? So we don't lose you. No, sorry. So yeah, now we have the final time, right, for the questions. Like 1, 2, and we have some gifts, right? Yeah. Who has a question? Oh, Jennifer, please. And I'm gonna go.
I would like to know why you said yes to his email, because apparently nobody else did.
Like, you want the honest answer? You want the PR one? No, I'm kidding. To be honest, I don't remember. I mean, I think it was like, so he's basically from the same, like I'm from a small town. He's from the same small town as me. And it was like, you know, the kid wants to go to a robotics conference. It was not really that much money. So my answer would be, why not? You know what I mean? So like, okay, if it helps out, why not?
Thanks. Top. Who else has a question? Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm actually also from a small town like you and him, and actually was part of his Kickstarter in 2017. My question is on scaling corporate culture and corporate values. Something that I clearly, out of Croatia, landed in Silicon Valley in '96. Assistant in mathematics in Croatia, went over there, been in product, and from product, kind of like over nearly 20 years, ended up being co-founder twice. And one of the things, I joined 4 engineers early on. None of the co-founders wanted to focus on the culture. I inevitably did. I learned it's a full-time job in addition to everything else that I had. Another startup, we went IPO, and clearly with the latest startup in data infrastructure, I know what you do. We have teams between, India, Croatia, and US, right? So, any sort of key lessons you can learn? Any key lessons you have learned that you want to share in terms of like going out of Croatia recruiting, because clearly there is a culture clashes and things like that, and sort of anything, sort of 1 or 2 top lessons that you learned in recruiting and scaling culture.
Okay.
Wonderful question.
Yeah, that's
It's hard one and a long
hard one.
Yeah.
It's hard one. First, startup culture or company culture is you don't build in free places. To begin with, it's like you build it in one place. It's much easier, and you don't think about it. You just do what you do. You do what you do well with your founders, and then it will grow by itself. Of course, when you have another country, then you will have problems. But I think that, so my approach was not to overthink it, but do things as I think things should be done. Work with teach my new colleagues, hire colleagues that I think, like I will tell you one thing, how I hired for Microblink first colleagues. I hired them, first I asked my friend, Faculty of Electrical Engineering, can he recommend several colleagues who are good at algorithms? So he sent several of them, 5 of them I think, and then I picked one that was actually good at algorithms competitions, but the other thing was he was living in Zagorje. Zagorje is here, not far from Zagreb. There are villages, and he was helping his family on their farm. So he was like really good engineer, and at the same time he was really somebody who was, hardworking, helping on his parents' farm. And this is all you need to know. And then we hired his colleagues also there. His friends, and that was the best thing. It was great company culture building, just like choosing the right people that I really respected how they live how they actually study, how they work hard, and it was a really great combination. By the way, my parents, when I was little, they sent me to help my grandmother on her small farm, and then I learned this is not what I want to do in life. So it's a good experience. And then I so that was one. So I didn't overthink it. I was just like, okay. Later we had, it was visible. There are different cultures, US, Croatia, and then you need to manage it. And this is still hard, but it's manageable. But when you add third country, I think it's really, really, really difficult thing to do. So I would avoid adding third country. That would be my advice. So, that's it. Thank you.
Tomislav, yeah.
So I'm guessing the next thing is not gonna be a farm for you.
Smart farms or something like that.
So my opinion on that, like I really, like on the whole term of like values and corporate values, I don't generally like it. Just because my opinion usually is like your values are what you do, basically. It's what you do and you don't do. And there's no like, if you write it on walls and you write it in like handbooks, corporate handbooks, and you do lectures about it, nothing's really gonna happen. People are gonna eye roll, that type of stuff. For me, values are what you do and you don't do, and people see it. And then they kind of know this is acceptable behavior in this company, this is not acceptable, this is how we talk to colleagues. If somebody is like toxic in an environment, and then you need to speak up as a leader, as if you're running the company, if you're running like a department or something, and that's how you basically build corporate value at a scale. I think that was the question, right? How do you build it like in a bigger company? It's easier when it's like a small company, right? But when it's a bigger company, it becomes a problem. But that's the only way I've seen it work. You know, you have to top down, you have to be like the example, and kind of this is how we act here. And that's the type of company you're going to get at the end, basically, how you act.
Also, one thing that is different, actually, and this is our advantage here, that we do things slowly. It is not like, it's not Silicon Valley, you want to grow, quickly, and then you have all these problems. And if you do it slowly, then you don't have these problems. You can control it more easily. And so, like, it is actually, I would always like our culture to be more like to have sense of urgency, and which is sometimes missing. But on the other side, you get, some other things that are qualities, and so you need to recognize this and actually build on these strengths. And this might not be a weakness, but on the other side, if you want to compete to somebody who is really much faster, you will lose. So you need to pick what are you building, and it should be long-term thing, and then somehow. So we managed to build things that were. I think we used. Because we are from Croatia, we were able to build things because we are in Silicon Valley. I wouldn't be able to get such talented engineers because they would work for Google. and so, like, this is like you actually, your environment will give you certain advantages. Like, it's not that I recognize this now. I know, looking from today's perspective, but yeah, you can always use your local advantages or culture or approach, and it can be actually in your benefit. Sometimes not, but then you pivot.
Well, not much actually. I completely agree. So we should look at where we're strong, so what our strengths are. And then basically just look at, maybe what are the things that are missing. So, for example, one thing that I usually highlight is that when I look at the, B2B SaaS companies here, there's not a lot of culture of, this B2B, sales people are not, we don't have that in the whole, CEE region, basically. So, and that's a big problem. So we usually then need to go out, find an American or a couple of Americans to sell. And we're sort of looking into, what are some of the companies that other companies can then learn from that, right? From that experience, and somehow kickstart that we get this knowledge and that expertise locally, right? On the culture, yeah, I think what you said. So up to 70 people, it can be founder driven. So it's completely up to founders. after 70 people, and that's why we have this limit, so people that manage more than 70 people, you need to really put a lot of effort into that. And it becomes an effort.
Yeah, I think, so this is a really good question. I think the way that I view it is figuring out what must stay in order to keep your culture and the things that naturally have to go as you grow a company. And I'll give you specific examples instead of speaking in generalities. So things that must leave when our company was scaling was we had like emojis in Slack. One was LFG, and I'll let you guess what the F stood for, but it was let something go. And that offends some people, right? As you're scaling a company, not everybody shares the same sensibilities when it comes to those words. We even had a keg in the office, right? Like many startup companies do, I think. And that's not appropriate. If you're identifying with certain religions, that has to go. So there's some things that have to go naturally as your company grows and as you embrace different people from different parts of the world, different religions, and so forth. But there's also things that you need to maintain to keep the core, the essence of your company as those people are coming on board. And I think for us, it was trust. So how do you continue to demonstrate trust when you work with a team of 100 people versus 7 people? Because with 7 people, I know them all personally. I trust them. If they say they're going to do something, they have integrity. I know they're going to get it done. If you're scaling that team to a much larger number of people, you have to demonstrate that you trust them somehow. For us, it was maintaining something called a recharge day. So every quarter, we give all employees across our company in the same department the same day off. And it doesn't have to be a federal holiday, just an arbitrary day around a weekend. And trusting your employees that they'll use that day to really recharge so that when they come back on Monday, they're ready to go and they're very productive, demonstrates that I trust you. And this creates a really good culture then because everybody's in the same boat. Everybody understands we all have this great benefit. And that shows that my boss is not somebody that's going to tell me, hey, this is what you do from 9 to 5. I expect you to do this. It creates autonomy. It creates trust. I think it's very important to culture.
Thank you, Sami, and thank you, everyone. We have to finish. Thank you, Gregor. Thank you, Tomislav. Thank you, Damir. Thank you, Sami.
Don't finish it.
Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Ante. And
This was
Anthony.
great. It's getting better and better. I think we should stay maybe 2 days on Summit. It would be better. 15 minutes break for a coffee, and then we are back. Startups, 8 of them. We are listening to pitches, so be back soon.